Suvonyev, spasibo for joining me at the Lost Begotten channel, where that is the two Russian words that I've almost learned. I'm gonna try to learn more, because, Russia just had its little coup, and gonna need to learn Russian. So, welcome to the video with half a face, where I just learned about a author named Masha Gessen, and she has a book called Man Without a Face: The Unlikely Rise of Vladimir Putin. And she's recently wrote a story or something, a bulletin about um, Guide to Autocracy or something like that. And let me see if I can see it, if I can pull it up. This crap's gonna take forever. Okay. So, what I want to talk about, and it's very important enough for me to make a video without any lighting. Here, is that better? How y'all doing? Are you ready for a campfire story? Yeah. Sorry. No, but it is very important. Because, I don't need to cite any German history or Nostradamus, the Bible. It's all quite handy background knowledge, especially the Bible. But, see, one can just extrapolate logically once one has learned the reality of the situation. What is going to happen from here forward? What's going to happen is you, Bill Maher, Rachel Maddow, Keith Olbermann, Chris Hayes. I think Chris Matthews sees it coming and he's already like, I'm going to the right now. Or, just going to kiss Donald Trump's ass as soon as he gets elected. But Chris Matthews is kind of patriotic by the book like that. Once the guy's president, he's president. I'm not going to fuck around. But people like, what's the Majority Report guy and the secular whatever the fuck guy, the Young Turks, you're all doomed. Do you realize that? And you're doomed for one reason. Because you didn't listen to me. You didn't spread the truth that I told you had to spread to save yourselves. Why? Oh, yeah. He must be crazy no matter how many things he's right about, because he thinks, quote, I'm holding up my quotes, thinks he's Jesus. Technically, I think my wife is closer to Jesus. I am the begotten of God. I am John the Baptist. You kids know nothing of Christianity. That's why you've elected Donald Trump. You know nothing of the truth. That's why Donald Trump is now the still unofficial, president-elect. But that's not what I'm talking about. That's very important. As important as that is. What's very important is the future that I was just referring to, in which you are essentially fucked. See, what is going to happen is ostracizement. Now, I've said this many times before. Because you did not watch Ukraine, you don't know what's going to happen here. Okay? Well, I'll spell it out for you. What's going to happen here is, first, MSNBC, CNN, they're going to find the places that you film from, and they're going to start protesting there. Oh, yes. And it's just going to start a little bit at a time. And then one day, they're just going to come occupy the building with the help of some federal law enforcement agencies. And see what then they're going to do. After they're done ostracizing you and inciting their protesters to come basically get rid of all of you, they're going to start ostracizing any politicians, any government agencies who disagree with them. Anyone who disagrees with them. Gonna be some protesters. Gonna show up there. Then there's gonna be some fake news. Gonna make them protesters lose their shit. And maybe that fake news will be credible enough to where some handy federal law enforcement people will come and help those protesters. Because what's the local law enforcement gonna do against combined, say, federal marshals, FBI, and protesters? This is how Ukraine fell. Okay? Little green men from Russia came to help the protesters. Just tweak it ever so slightly, and you have the fascist takeover of America, which won't just lead to the purge of you people who aren't listening to me right now, that know, I can subscribe to his channel. I can tell a little bit of his truths here and there, what I can get away with it, but I better not admit that I'm getting my information from a guy who thinks he's Jesus, or from John the Baptist, or whatever. I better parse that and make sure I don't tell enough information from this guy that people know where I'm getting it from. Well, like I've said, you can disclaim me by making fun of me. I won't hold it against you. You can say it just happens to be a coincidence. You can even state the fact that, in a world this full of shit, the one guy who saw it all coming, you might think you were fucking Jesus too. But that's not why. I know I'm John the Baptist. I do like to think of these things in comical ways quite often, because the world is completely full of shit as far as their expectations of the returning Messiah. I led a rebellion. There's a convoluted history that really isn't that hard to figure out. They've recently uncovered just a little bit more of it. But it seems they want to separate people, even though they used to live a lot longer back then. In fact, this short human lifespan that you have, 120 years, is it what you think? Try 1200. And by the way, an old word for forever meant 1,000 years. Because, 1,000 years seemed like forever. Even though a 1,200-year-old. Which, if I'm not mistaken, that law was written by someone in excess of 800 years. Or that saying was written by, excuse me. So anyway, I saw the most ridiculous thing on Secret Daily. that ye was not a word because they thought they found this extra syllable called thorn. Um, and I bet you most people who watch that story completely believe it. And they'd be full of shit. Ye has always been a word. Hear ye, hear ye. This court is now in session. Yeah. Um, like the very idea of all these different fake channels, just fake. It's not YouTube anymore, is it? It's them-tube. It's they-tube. If it's YouTube, you're not really allowed to have a voice, are you? I resent that. Especially considering that it's been used by a foreign government to completely confuse the American people. And it started getting out of hand after Ukraine for this reason. When Ukraine happened, one of the key ways people caught Russian involvement in Ukraine was through YouTube. So the very idea that YouTube wouldn't be hacked by Russia or somehow Russia would not seek to influence YouTube is preposterous. It was on YouTube where the video of the Buk missile was uploaded. You know, the Buk missile launcher that shot down MH17. You know, 48 hours before suddenly a big army showed up around Mosul and just took it. Yeah. How convenient. And how convenient that the communists in Turkey should try to blame the CIA for a coup the day that Mike Pence is announced for VP, so that nobody would pay any attention to Mike Pence's crooked ass. That Mike Pence kind of doesn't give a shit about you if you don't, fall into his beliefs. That's that guy. So the idea that he would be any temperance to this autocrat, this puppet that, Putin has hacked our election and somehow convinced so many people that he is a president. He's not a legitimate president in any way at all. And I'm not just talking about the Electoral College. I'm not just talking about the votes that are missing, the 4 million votes that are missing. Okay? That's how many are missing. I know. Of course, I can't prove it. But you know what? If you open up a bank vault and the money's gone, but you don't have any videotape of thieves, do you think you weren't robbed? Do we need some proof of hacking to know that this was hacking? Do we need some proof of disenfranchisement to know that there was disenfranchisement? This guy told Russia to hack. This guy told people to go and keep watch on you-know-whos, on black people. This guy has total conflicts of interest and is seeking to set up an autocracy. And it won't just lead to the purge of dissenting voices in the media, of dissenting networks in their entirety, and the establishment of his personal owned state media, personally owned state media. And it's not just going to wind up purging via car accidents and illnesses and God knows what else. Different members of Congress and the Senate and the Justice Department. But then there's going to come a thing that I wish I wish more of your grandparents were here to warn you about. You see, he came for the media, and I didn't speak out for the media because I wasn't a media. He came for the reporters. I didn't speak out for the reporters because I wasn't a reporter. He came for the women. He came for our female leader. But I wasn't an elite, and she was an elite. So I didn't speak out for her because she took money from the banks that make our country capable of being a country. That's, Goldman Sachs and whatnot, which everybody in politics takes money from. Deal with it. Even Bernie Sanders took money from Goldman Sachs. Okay? Deal with it. Moron. Okay. Sorry, I lose track when I think about Bernie Sanders people because they don't understand economics at all. They don't understand international politics at all. And they barely seem like people who passed civics class. Definitely not history class. And if you have a problem with that, learn more. I don't have time to teach very small children how to breathe, okay? I will teach you what your grandfather, your grandmother, your great grandmother, your great grandfather should have taught you, but apparently you forgot. Then they came for the Mexicans, but I wasn't a Mexican, so I didn't speak for the Mexicans. They came for the Muslims. I wasn't a Muslim, so I didn't speak for the Muslims. Then they came for the gays and the lesbians, the LGBTQ community. I wanted to try to do my Donald Trump LGBTQ or something like. It was just funny the way he said it. Wasn't it? Anyway, I don't like acronyms, so it was like, where are my homos at? Like, I'm from New Orleans. I get along with gay people by default. Like, in New Orleans, to be funny, it's okay for men to act gay. Like, I know that's probably foreign to most people, but it's like, hey there, how are you doing? Like, just because it's fucking funny. And yes, it's scary how well I do that. And that's what's funny about it. Don't you say? Okay, anyway. Oh, yeah. But, you weren't a LGBTQ. I wasn't a LGBTQ. So I didn't speak out for them, right? Oh, I would speak out for them, obviously. But you didn't. Because you aren't one of them, right? You didn't go to these protests right now. Because you weren't a Muslim. You weren't a